Live from Shepparton, this is Paul Murray Live, Our Town.
Stand by, here we go. G'day Shepparton, how are you? Hello everybody. You just saw Rob walking in front of the camera. Anyway, he's here all night. Thank you very much. Welcome to Our Town here in Shepparton. What a magnificent weekend we have had. And tonight we are bringing you the show from one of the best automotive displays you can see in the entire country. It's called Move. This thing is unbelievable. It's been around for about 18 months, best part of 2 years. To everyone involved in this thing, congratulations. We've been lucky enough to go to auto museums all over the country, and this, believe me, is the best. Not one of, this is the best, because you've got everything from the cool bikes to cars to trucks. There's wonderful celebrations of radio and telly over the years, I'm telling you. As I said to my missus before, if I die and go to heaven, this is heaven, and who knew that it was 2 hours up the road from Melbourne? But certainly Dan Andrews, Melbourne can be hell for many people, certainly taxation-wise. All right, so I wanted to explain to people, because so often you see in the man cave, you've got a whole bunch of stuff around of my cars that I like, and Peter Brock and all the cool stuff. I'm the only magazine, literally, I still physically get sent, Unique Cars magazine. I love old school cars for a bunch of reasons. And they're actually on display in this very facility, because I think that cars and trucks and boats and all that stuff, apart from the engineering and the design, they tell stories. They're little time capsules about families and communities and cities. Like, say, a school bus where you might have met a friend on your first day at school and you're still best friends all the way through your life. You may well have moved house in the back of Dad's Kingswood, which of course at the time had more ashtrays than cup holders, which is the way that we like things. That is an incredible car. If I could just put one in my pocket, that'll be the one that'll go missing from Move here a little later. Then there's incredible sort of moments where people have gone to school formals of recent years in a classic car from the past, or maybe at some point in time you remember the cool uncle or yourself being able to get around in something like this. That has a record player in it, by the way. And then, of course, there is the industrial history of Australia that sadly, and manufacturing story of Australia that is sadly missing. The incredible cars where the fancy people used to have the Premiere while the rest of us had the Kingswood, or maybe learnt on the Gemini. But then there's, of course, the stories about the factories from the EH and all the way through. And in fact, one of the last remaining prototypes of the first Holdens to ever be made, which was sent over to the US to double check, is in this very facility. So if, like me, you love your cars, but more important, you love the stories of those cars, please make sure that you come here. But as we gather here tonight, Shepparton is a community, just like many others in Victoria. When horrible things happen, the connections to the people who it may well have happened to kick in pretty quickly. And we want to send our thoughts to the regional community here in Victoria after 4 people died this weekend, again, because as beautiful as cars may be and as great stories as they might be, they can, of course, result in the end of very innocent lives. So I'll say this, as somebody who's hooned around plenty in his life, for God's sake, slow down, take care of each other, because you can drive the best way in the world, but if somebody else is doing something stupid, you could end up in a world of trouble. Here's what the police said today.
But the people we really need help from are the people using the roads every day, because they're the ones who can control what is going on. They're the ones who can limit the carnage. And it's to those people that I make the appeal right now to do something before you too either suffer road trauma, or, as we've seen some terrible examples over the weekend, you will know someone who does. Families have been ripped apart. A community has been ripped apart. It cannot go on.
So strength and love to the families that are affected. But again, a reminder to everyone, just settle down behind the wheel, because it can mean the end of everything and so much heartache for lots of different people. Now, you may well have noticed slightly colder than it was just even a couple of weeks ago. Well, most of the eastern seaboard of Australia had one heck of a weekend. Certainly we felt it here in Shepparton, but I'm Sydney soft, which meant this, of course, is just the beginning of winter in these there parts. But Sky News Weather explains, why was it so cold this weekend?
And this is why on the satellite you can see that cold front linked into a trough moving through the southeast, and that is generating some icy conditions, some showers as well.
Also, a bit of news worth telling you about here is, of course, the fire that took place in Sydney. As we all remember, the building that was being burnt towards the ground late in the week. Well, crikey, we now learn that it was 3 teenagers who have come forward now for police to work out exactly what has happened. And the Fire Brigade in New South Wales released some incredible footage this weekend. I don't know if you had a chance to have a look, but if not, have a look at this. This is some drone footage that was taken by the fireys over the collapsed structure. It is amazing that so much of it was able to hold up. Thankfully, a couple of the nearby buildings, yes, they copped it too, but that could have been a lot worse than what it was. But thank goodness that the fireys were there to take care of things. All right, let's talk about Lydia Thorpe, the senator from Victoria. Your senator from Victoria. Now, of course, Lydia Thorpe is the most unlucky senator. She just happens to always be set upon by police. Happens to always be filmed out the front of a strip club, accidentally talks, of course, about the concussions that she got from netball, or remember the protest at the Mardi Gras that she says wasn't a protest because it was, she had to take a rest because she had ankle injuries from netball. She's an unlucky lady. And remember, last week she was using Senate estimates to, well, make us talk about her.
We also have First Nations police who are doing their best
it's still police.
to improve the situation
police are police.
across the
Doesn't
Northern
matter what
Territory,
colour you are.
not just
Police
in
are
Alice
police.
Springs.
Shame on you.
No, shame on you.
Shame on you.
You're the one who brings disgrace.
They're the ones killing our
you
people.
You bring disgrace not
you
only
tell that
to this
to
Senate, you are the
you
disgrace.
tell that to Kuman
right
J. Walker's family.
How dare you?
Tell that to
How
Kuman J.
dare
Walker's
you?
family.
You're a disgrace
Concrete
to the
slabs.
Senate, and you're a disgrace to your people.
Okay.
Yes, we see. And of course, for some time, she has been protesting for First Nations rights. She considers herself to be a senator representing Indigenous sovereign rights. Now, she gave an interview today on Channel 2. She did so to what I understand to be a heterosexual white man, which meant the problem started from there for Lydia. But she decided to, among other things, have a crack at good old-fashioned Sky News prime time.
People don't understand the true history of this nation. You only need to look at Sky After Dark. They have no idea.
OK, so why did she get that in apart from the claps on Twitter? Well, you see, we, of course, have been chronicling just how unlucky this senator can be. We have been following every detail of her struggle, including, of course, when the Prime Minister, in a racist fashion, remember, suggested that there may well be a mental health issue here for the good senator. And she said this in a YouTube interview. She had a crack at us, as she did this morning, because we noticed this.
If they want to check on my mental health, you know, they're free to contact my deadly Black Lives Matter counsellor who's supporting me all the way.
The offer remains an entire hour of television any night he wants. He can bring all the notes that he has and we can sit down and work out what is happening with Lydia Thorpe's mental health, an offer that has not been taken up to this point, but that's why she had a crack at us today. But it was more than that today. In fact, of course, she was, among other things, talking about how when they vote in the Parliament in the next couple of weeks about whether or not there will be a referendum, and there will be a referendum later in the year about the voice to Parliament, the lady who is all about Indigenous rights is now saying that she most likely won't even take part in that vote. So she won't vote no, she won't vote yes, she won't vote at all.
The yes vote is to allow for a powerless voice to go into the Constitution. Yes, we don't know what this looks like. It could be one person. It's up to the Parliament to decide what the voice looks like. So I can't support something that gives us no power, and I certainly cannot support a no campaign that is looking more like a white supremacy campaign that is causing a lot of harm.
Remember, this is the lady who wants to unite the country, but if you're even thinking about voting no, it's about white supremacy, fair dinkum. Well, inside of all of this, of course, she was actually asked one of the questions that I've been waiting for somebody to ask her, which is, OK, blank piece of paper. How does it work? What does it mean if you get what you want in terms of sovereignty? Here's what she explains.
That would look like negotiating with the Crown on things like resources, things like land, things like possibly reparations and land rights, land back. We've had so much taken from us over the last 200 years.
I would love to have an entire special channel here on Sky News for when King Charles negotiates with Senator Thorpe. It'll be fun to watch. We will have rolling coverage of all of that, but of course we'll end up talking about Harry and Meghan because that's what people really seem to care about. But believe it or not, we have now found one of the greatest sources of institutional racism that the most unlucky, unfortunate senator in the history of our parliament has come up against. Who knew that the racism that was worth complaining to the Human Rights Commission was the racism that she felt in the Greens? She is going to the Human Rights Commission. Apparently her lawyer's drawing this up as we speak, which is something she didn't really want to talk about, but she said enough that the Greens are the racists in the parliament.
I've experienced racism all my life in every workplace, and the Greens were no different.
Now, let's move to interest rates. There will be another meeting Tuesday of next week to decide whether or not Australians will be paying even more. Will we be headed for the 12th interest rate rise, or will it remain at 11 or 10 since, of course, there was a change of government, and 11 overall in the past 12 months. So much for that overall promise of cost of living and everything's going to be better. Well, we know the bad side, which means most likely rates go up, was the federal budget and all of its extra spending. But then there's a potential break on this, which was thankfully we got some numbers on Friday. And you know, I love showing you my data. Where is, that sounded creepy, didn't it? But anyway, which is the retail sales figures came out for April, and thankfully they were flat. Why? Because every time they kept going up, that means that the Reserve Bank turns around and thinks there's too much money in the economy, therefore keep hitting the brakes. So will it be the budget that pushes them over the line, or will things work out? We'll all find out in real time together. Meantime, one of the things that is caught up in the inflation calculation, in the basket of goods, is, among other things, the cost of housing. Now, for a collection of reasons, including that we don't make things in Australia anymore, but alas, we import everything, the cost of building a house is going through the roof. On top of that are the number of people who sign a contract 2 years ago saying to build this house will cost X dollars. Throw in a whole collection of factors and the X becomes a Y, and the difference means the person who is trying to build the house goes broke. That was the news that we got out of the Courier Mail, that in Queensland in particular, the suggestion is that there is a huge number, almost the best part of what? Half of everyone in the construction sector up there is currently in trouble. Speaking of Queensland and the disgraceful behaviour of a government that should have lost at the last election, but fingers crossed, will at the next. Their attitudes towards health. Remember, Queensland Hospitals for Queensland people, and we're here to keep you safe. Well, those same people are the ones that are laughing at a story we told you about last week. People that should be in a hospital recovering are being sent to SeaWorld. Not joking. Actually sending people to the resort at SeaWorld for hospital beds. Well, a new story came out today. Ambulance ramping is again a horrible situation in Queensland, just as it is in Victoria. But apparently, Jadiel Andrews got re-elected after 33 people had died when their O system didn't work, so who knows what will happen in Queensland. But the Health Minister tried in part to hide these numbers. Queensland Health has failed to make a dent in the ongoing ambulance ramping crisis, plunging the state's emergency departments with new data, revealing half of all patients transported to the hospital are stuck on a stretcher for at least 30 minutes. Now, this would have been, you would imagine, a story worth following on the TV news. You would have thought this could have been the lead of your 6 p.m. news. No, no, no! The BS machine is being cranked up by the Palaszczuk government, which meant this was allegedly the real lead story. Not the patients at SeaWorld, but this was the lead story on 9 in Brisbane tonight.
Good evening. The government's promising more cost of living relief in next month's state budget, revealing a snippet today in the form of free swimming lessons.
And to the United States, where Ron DeSantis is, of course, the man who would like to take on Donald Trump to become the Republican nominee for president. Well, the latest numbers there are not good for Ron DeSantis. In fact, latest numbers suggest that of people who are Republicans, 53% compared to 26% say Trump should be the nominee. Among registered Republicans, 46% of people say they want Trump over 25% DeSantis. And a third poll, again, among people who plan to vote in the primaries, it's 69-20 currently in favour of Trump. So get ready for him to be the nominee. But the people who used to be Republicans, but now bask in the sunlight of lefty TV, they say it doesn't matter whether Donald Trump is in jail or even dead, people will still vote for him.
The worst case scenario is that Donald Trump will be the nominee in the Republican Party once again. There are very few paths to get a Ron DeSantis or any other of these jokers in the field over the finish line in the primary. I mean, Trump has to be dead or in jail, and even in those cases, he still might win the primary.
But it wasn't incredible news for old mate Joe Biden, the man who can defy gravity by falling up the stairs. Well, there was a new poll that was there for him this weekend, and even the Biden Booster Network of CNN had to say, ouch!
Horrible news. Horrible for Joe Biden in our new CNN poll. While the president leads his Democratic competitors by a huge margin, 2/3 of all of the American people surveyed, 66% of the public, say that a Biden victory would either be a setback or a disaster for the United States.
So he's going really well. So let's celebrate Shepparton here this evening as I speak into a microphone from the great local radio station, now called Triple M, but 3SR here. One of the many artefacts that have been saved from that radio station and local telly stations over the years. You can see here at Move. Shepparton, of course, is about many different things, but there's all sorts of things that are involved here, including some local produce and plenty of agriculture. But one of its great exports, not just around Australia, but around the world, well, it can be SPC, and we'll get to that in a second, but we spent a bit of time at the Campbell's Soup Factory. And yes, because I have a beard, I had to wear a beard net. We love big things in Australia, from big bananas to big prawns. Well, here in Shepparton, behold, the big Campbell's soup can. This is the factory that produces millions of cans, not just for Australia, but for places all around the world. Oh yeah, and that's not full of soup, it's full of water that they use to make the soup. All right, we're ready to operate. Oh, this is the beard. How many people work at this joint?
So currently at the site we have 164 full-time employees.
Now is soup time for everyone in Australia. So when is peak production here?
From January all the way through to end of May. This is our busy time.
Awesome, fantastic. All right, let's have a look.
This area is where we prep a number of different ingredients. We'll be bringing in all of our fresh carrots, potatoes, other fresh vegetables from out the back, processing them on these different production lines. We will blend, put all of those ingredients into large cooking kettles before we then are ready to send them over to be filled into cans.
Campbell's makes 51 million of the 1 litre stock packets each and every year. So how does it go from the front door to your door? Let's find out.
So we're about to go into our aseptic area.
This is magical.
Yes, it is.
How cool is this?
So this is our 1 litre line, Paul. We produce all of our real stock, 37 different SKUs in aseptic real stock range.
This is mesmerising to watch.
Yes.
You could stand here just sort of going, oh, I didn't break it. I literally broke the machine in front of everyone. You know those people who wrap their luggage at the airport? They don't have to. In a soup factory, in a cannery, you have to, because of course it's not just leaving here and going local, but a lot of what Campbell's does goes around the world.
30% of that now is going to export.
And this is what people in the cities need to understand. All up, the total operation is hundreds of people.
Absolutely.
Lots of cans, good news. All of this is also made in Shepparton by the good people over at Visy. Now this is where the bit on TV probably should end. But I just want to test something. If I pull one can, what will happen? Oh, nothing. That was going to be so spectacular. This place is such an institution in Shepparton that people have worked here for decades. They've got Hall of Fame boards for people that have been here for 25 years. but there's one man who's been here for more than 40. Gary Cooper is a local legend. Coops, how are you? I'm Paul.
Paul, pleased to meet you, Paul.
Lovely to meet you. Now, I thought Gary Cooper was a Hollywood star. No, a Campbell star. And here he is. This was back, 36 years of service. How many years is it now?
It's 42 now.
Wow. So how's the joint changed over that amount of time?
Oh, it's changed a hell of a lot. It's gone from a lot of manual work, a lot of manual labour, to now it's all automated. Campbell Soups is very family orientated. I think we're in a pretty good spot, a really good industry for the town.
It is a tremendous part of what happens in this community, and Coops is a lovely bloke. Keep it going, ladies and gentlemen, for your local mayor and a local senator as well. This senator is not Lydia Thorpe, and it's wonderful Bridget McKenzie, and Shane Sarley is the Shepparton Mayor. Lovely to see you. Thanks for having us here this weekend. Wow, what a town, what a region. I was having dinner with some mates in Wodonga on Friday night. You're part of the world as well. This is a really special place, and I'm sorry that we're telling the rest of the country because they're all going to turn up now. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely, Paul. It's fantastic to have you and the team actually experiencing what the Goulburn Valley is all about. Manufacturing, it's the heart of trucking in Victoria. You've seen great produce, food manufacturing hub, and it's just got so much going for it. No matter what life and nature and governments throw at this place, it comes back stronger and stronger, and it's because of the people.
Yeah, I mean, it's that thing, Shane, where again, on that super local level, you want to keep up with 2023, but also you want to honour the many, many traditions that this city has. How do you balance that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we've got so many great stories that we can tell here. It's got a really rich history and obviously a really resilient community as well. And no bigger story than our agricultural sector here as well. I was chatting to Bridget a little bit earlier. You know, proud to say 90% of the pears have grown here.
I was going to say, you're armed with fruit, right? You're going to throw it, or you're going to eat it, or you're going to hold it on TV. Don't eat it on TV, Bridget.
No. But 50% of the apples are grown here as well. So it's a great place to do business and raise a family and start your future. So.
Yeah, Bridge, I always talk about when people who have a statewide responsibility, but obviously are focused in a particular area, you're always great with us advocating for the area. But when you're sitting around a cabinet table, and it might be a bunch of people coming from the capital cities, or you're trying to get the attention of a government that's there now, how important is it that somebody who lives in a regional community gets to advocate for the regional community in a place where, frankly, in Canberra, it's a map, it's numbers, it's not about people?
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up down the road in a very tiny town called Gurumbat, and Shep was like the big smoke for us. But it adds so much to the national wealth, a place like this. You know, when you've got 86% of our national pear, you've seen the food that's produced in this place, that's processed in this place. So policies like energy matter to jobs in a community like this. Policies around truckie tax, for instance, impact jobs in a community like this and have flow-on effects, water policy. So, you know, when Tanya Plibersek is making decisions to come into communities like this and take our water, it isn't about environmental outcomes, it's actually severely impacting our ability to produce food, not just for Australia, but indeed for the globe. So those decisions in Canberra that seem like have no tangible outcome for this community and for what it does for the nation, it have severe and significant impact. So it's important to be loud and proud, and that's why having you here and the nation seeing what goes on in this place is so important.
More than happy to work from home for the next 3 months or so. If this is the work from home office, I'm more than happy to stay. But Shane, again, the same question, but about advocating to Melbourne. Now, of course, there might be people who grew up somewhere or knew somewhere or were from somewhere, but for obvious reasons, they turn around and they hear louder populations. How do you advocate for an area like this when there's only one bucket of money?
Yeah, it is. I mean, obviously it is challenging at times, but we do our best. We've got a really strong council and a really strong community here that support counselling, advocating, different sort of stakeholders that get on board with us. And we're really clear on what we really want to achieve here, and it's important that we get that message to the relevant governments, whether it's federal or state as well. We obviously rely on our state members as well to give us the support where it's required. But, you know, there is only one sort of bucket of money, and we want to make sure regional Victoria, and in particular our great place here, is getting its fair share.
I think what was really interesting at both the last state election and the federal election was that this community decided that independent MPs weren't the way to go, to actually back a team approach, and in this case the Nationals, to have that louder collective voice in both Spring Street and in Canberra.
And Shane, how many times does somebody try to knock off a colourful cow? How often do you have to on Monday morning going, who the hell's had a crack at the colourful cows?
To be honest, the council office where I sit looks out at Monash Park, where about 50 of them are located. They're too heavy to take, but you do see a lot of people trying to ride them.
I love them. I think they're fantastic because the one out the front of Move, they're all over the place. I was walking around the city yesterday, just FaceTiming with my little girls, and the one about the Where's Wally one, they absolutely went crazy for. So they're super cool, not to mention sort of the cow jumping over the moon in the main drag as well. All right, lovely to see you, Mr Mayor, Madam Senator, thank you so much. All right, plenty more to talk about in this area, plenty more about the agriculture, more from Georgia Simpson.
Built on the floodplains of the Goulburn River is Shepparton. The agriculture and manufacturing centre is the beating heart of the Goulburn Valley. Shepparton's history is so intertwined with agriculture, it's even integrated into the city's public art. The Moving Art Project, life-size fiberglass cows painted by local artists, is an ode to the region's dairy industry. Shepparton is also the birthplace of SPC Ardmona, the largest processor of canned fruits in the country. The entire region is colloquially known as the fruit basket of Australia. At Peter Hall's orchard, you won't find Granny Smith, but you will find a blushing pink lady.
We're just coming into the tail end of the harvest period. It's gone for about 7 months. Starts usually in about November, goes through till the end of May, and we're finishing off with our Pink Lady harvest.
Pink Ladies are one of the most popular apple varieties in Australia.
They've got a combination of a very unique taste. They've got an attractive pink blush, and they can be kept in your fridge for a long period of time. So all those things make it a really attractive and appealing apple to consumers.
Can I give one of your apples a taste test?
Yeah, give it a go.
Chris. The Goulburn Valley produces 40% of Australia's apples and 90% of the country's pears.
And within a slightly wider region, maybe 60-70% of stone fruit. So we really are truly the fruit basket of Australia.
Olives are also grown in the region. They're not as prolific as other fruits, but at Qstoke Olive Estate, Johnny Greco and his team produce around 30,000 litres of premium extra virgin olive oil each year.
We make it to our tasting, but it's just a superior oil, really. Yeah, we're very passionate about what we do, and we like to make sure that quality is number one.
Harvest begins in mid-May. We were lucky enough to see part of the process. The olives are heated and then pressed to produce the oil. Qstoke Olive Estate offers tours and tastings. Just email the team to find out more. The Goulburn Murray Irrigation District system is the largest in Victoria. It covers almost 10,000 square kilometres and supports around 13,000 customers in the agriculture sector.
Spans significantly from Swan Hill, Kerrang, Bort, Pyramid Hill, through to Rochester, Kyabram, and then all the way around to Yarrawonga and Cobram.
It's a significant contributor to the economic prosperity of the area.
On average, $6 billion of agricultural production are provided annually into this area, and roughly 10,000 jobs are related to the irrigation development and production within the Goulburn Murray Irrigation District.
The system has just undergone a $2 billion makeover. The Goulburn Murray Water Connections project has taken almost a decade to complete. It was jointly funded by the federal and state governments. It's the largest irrigation modernisation project in Australian history.
We've taken an irrigation system that with 100-year-old technology and brought it up to today.
Mr Tanais estimates the project has generated more than 434 gigalitres of water savings. That's the equivalent of Sydney Harbour. The upgrades were crucial to make the system more efficient for the next generation.
Traditionally, farmers would water overnight and they'd be up every couple of hours shifting water around their properties, and depending how they're set up on farm now, that can all be essentially automated.
Shepparton is an example of how Australia's regions are the backbone of the country. Whether it be manufacturing, food production or irrigation, us city slickers need to get out of the big smoke more often and experience what some of these hidden gems have to offer.
Behold one of Shepparton's greatest industrial exports. This is the Furphy Farm water cart. It's metal, you have to weld both ends of it together, and you had to do that from the inside, which meant only kids could do that. Seriously, this was a world before HR. Now, this water cart was used to literally go to farms to fight bushfires, but the word Furphy may mean something more to you. That goes back to World War I, when our soldiers were standing around getting a drink after a tough day battling away, and they'd start to tell stories about what had happened during the day. If the story felt a little too good to be true, it was called a Furphy. We have another term for it in the 21st century, but I think I can only use the letters BS. More here from Shepparton in a moment, including plenty of the wonderful tourism here. If you're a foodie, stand by. And if you love the cars and trucks that are around us tonight, we'll show you more in a sec. So don't go anywhere. Stick with us here in Shepparton. Welcome back to Shepparton. Thank you very much for joining us around the country. Peter Hill is this bloke, and I tell you what, he is... well, you've got an official title, executive, director, boss,
like that.
sir.
Yeah.
But the bloke who's in charge of this thing, Move, it is incredible. Thank you for having us. I say this is where I die and go to heaven. This is incredible.
You'll have to share it with me.
Yeah, sure. All right, there's a few boots around, we'll be fine. All right, so let's have a chat here about how many cars have you got? Let's not put a value on anything, but how many cars have you got?
Oh, there's about 70 cars and about 40 trucks. And then we've got the buses, the motorbikes, the bicycles, so there's a bit here.
So that truck, that fire truck, is of course one donated by Lindsay Fox, but it's one that came from America, wasn't it?
Yeah, we won't say it's donated. He's just lending it to us at the moment.
Sorry, Lindsay. Apologies. All right, but yeah, talk to us about the types of cars that are in here, so everyone who's planning on a visit, they know what they're going to have a look at.
We've got everything from a T-model Ford up to the latest cars, some of the last Holdens and Fords. So we've got everything in between and everything from the right and everything to the left.
You took me around before, and I've got to say two things that, of course, just blew my mind. Kingswood Ute, fantastic.
Yep.
But then also on top of it all, buses. And I remember my dad, Kenny Dog, love you, mate. Know you're watching right now. And I bossed that he would have got around in the 80s.
Yep.
The first one with the toot up the back.
Yep.
I remember school excursions and stuff like that. And it goes back to what I said at the start of the show about how these things are time capsules.
Absolutely.
They're connected to the best and worst moments, the biggest and smallest. But the affection people have for cars, you don't have to understand what a camshaft is to remember how incredible that car was and this one was.
And it's that moment in time for people. I mean, people come here for other reasons. They'll see a car and say, I remember something from my life. So, yeah.
Now, also part of all of this, again, bikes. If you're a motorbike person, Simo, spin it around because I want people to be able to see the collection of motorbikes here. Tell us about what is in here. A lot of war stuff, but a lot of post too.
So it's a private collection of Harley Davidsons dating back over 100 years. And again, everything in between.
Okay, and again, we'll keep coming around to one last little bit here. Again, not enough for us to show on telly here, but just have a look at this incredible setup here. Whereas we showed before, the history of broadcast in the town, you got things from the old radio station, television station, the phones, the radios, because there's something about us blokes. We're not just cool with the cars, we're cool with all the stuff that used to be in the garage with the car.
All the junk.
It is pretty good, right? All right, so Move. You're open 7 days. How many days? Where do people find you online?
7 days a week, 10 a.m. till 4 p.m. Find us on all the socials.
Good stuff. We made sure that we linked up on the socials, so we'll do so after the show as well. This has been a thrill. We'll be here all night. This will be the longest pack-up in our town history, all right? We'll be here till next Tuesday. Georgia Simpson with more about this incredible region and what it has to offer from the tourism perspective. But top of the list, Move.
Sugar, spice and all things vanilla slice. For the best in Australia, look no further than Shepparton's North End Bakehouse.
Came down to like super crisp pastry and you could bite through it and not have it explode in your hands.
Owner Matt Aylett has been baking for 17 years and it's clear he's a high achiever in his field. His bakery is already popular with locals, but since winning the top gong for the nostalgic Aussie treat, he's been busier than ever.
We went from sort of 60 a day up to 1,200 right in the weeks after it, and then we've sort of dropped it back down to about 600 now, which is still 10 times what we used to do, so it's crazy.
Filled to the brim with pies and pastries, it's time for a stroll around the town. Shepparton has been built off the back of agriculture and manufacturing. While both industries are both key economic pillars for the region, they're not the only drivers. Shepparton is about to become the next big thing in regional Victoria. With its combination of great outdoors, rich history and vibrant culture, there really is something here for everyone. After a $50 million revamp, the Shepparton Art Museum, affectionately known as SAM, reopened its doors in 2021. Last year, 86,000 visitors came through the doors. 75% were from out of town. CEO Melinda Martin says the museum is a money spinner for the region. All those out-of-town visitors has resulted in more than $10 million pumped back into the local economy.
Through people, spending nights of accommodation in the area, but also purchasing goods and services and eating out in the restaurants in the community. So it makes a really big difference to a regional community.
There's an exhibit especially for the kids, as well as a display from local artists. The sleek spaces are a delight for the senses and well worth a visit.
Well, SAM is an exciting new building for the region, and it's really one of the brave acts of a local council to actually decide to invest in the arts.
After that culture fix, it's beer o'clock, and the friendly folk at Shepparton Brewery has you sorted.
Cheers.
Delish. Owners Matt and Dana brew all the beer on site, 1,500 litres a week to be exact.
There are some crafty ones, but a lot of them are sort of just keep them quite, easy drinking and for the market.
The menu consists of snacks, think mac and cheese croquettes and eggplant chips, as well as the classics, wood-fired pizzas and burgers. Quirky artworks adorn the walls, all done by a local artist. Ultimately, the Shepparton Brewery is warm and inviting. You'll leave feeling merry and full of good food.
Thank you, Georgia. One of the many beautiful things that you can do here. Now, who remembers these ads on the telly for many, many years?
Quackies, SPC, baked beans and spaghetti, a built way to start your day.
Slippery little sucker. Great.
SPC, we do fascinating things with fruit. If you took only the fruit and only the fruit juice out of a can of SPC peaches in natural juice, what would you be left with? Nothing. That's right. Nothing. No preservatives, no colouring, no added sugar.
Cool fruits from SPC, served chilled for maximum enjoyment.
Well, I think I may well have spoilt the punchline here, but Matt McMichael is the Chief Operating Officer of SPC. What does SPC stand for?
Shepparton Preservative Company.
There you go, everyone knows now. And Andrew Murphy is a dairy farmer in this part of the world as well, where I'm sure it's about to get colder. How do you go with 4 a.m. in the middle of winter?
You don't get used to it. No.
You never do.
15 years, it's,
So a massive employer like SPC and the historic links all the way from the name to today, how important is it that in a world of options, you stay here?
Oh, absolutely. Look, we've been here since 1917, so just turning over 105 years now. We have a big influence on not just the employee base that we have here, but also the grower network. We support 150 to 200 growers, producing 110,000 tonnes of fruit per year.
And it's this thing where when people have their options in a supermarket, the reason you buy Australian is because of the concentric circles that come as a result of that purchase. That purchase is the truck driver. That truck driver picked it up from the farm. That farm, of course, needs to stay alive. That's the story of trying to buy Australian and why it's not just something cute we say on telly, is it, mate?
Absolutely. Look, the Australian produce is known for quality. We're very proud of the fact that we're Australia's oldest fruit and legume processor. We've been, as I said, here for 105 years. We want to stay here for another 105 years.
So tell us the story of Murphy Dairy. When did it start?
1983. My dad and his dad started it. And then I came home from school after VCE after year 12 in 2008, and then been on the farm since then.
So classic example of the person who decides to stay. That wasn't always the example.
Yeah.
What made you stay?
No one else wanted to do it.
The honest answer. So when you're in that and you're part of that next generation, trying to find out, okay, this is what I'm going to do with my life and I'm going to carry on the work of Dad and his dad. Once you get into the groove, what's it like now that you're so far down the road? This is what is second nature, but it took a while?
It took a long time, a lot of hard years now, or back then, but now it's really good times. We're having great times in dairy. I don't know if I should say that on live TV, but dairy's going really well.
It's terrible. It's all we need, more government support, more. No, I get it.
Yeah.
But also, so tell us about the country. What makes for good dairy production here?
I've got 320 days of sunshine here. Lots of water. Well, usually at the moment we do. Soil's really good. Great access to Melbourne, as well as Sydney now too.
Well, I was going to say to both of you, though, that proximity to Melbourne, the idea, and obviously, people have discovered in the past couple of years, whether they wanted to or not, about the idea of working from home or working away from where the office was. But the capacity for you to be able to get stuff to Melbourne pretty quickly, let alone to be able to get it further north, that's an obvious advantage here, unlike some regional areas where it's, 4 or 5, even longer.
Yeah, look, I mean, we're fortunate that we've got, close proximity to both our natural resources plus our distribution networks. We enjoy the position that we have here. We also, want to take this produce out into the rest of the world. So our goal is to be, lead an export business as well as support domestic markets here as well.
So it's that thing. I mean, Andrew, for SPC and their great lineage, we've got the ads, people remember, they're able to draw on a lot of knowledge from the customer. Mm-hmm. How do you get the word out there about Murphy, though? Apart from come on TV shows and know.
That's a tough one. We just try to supply the best product we can, do that consistently year on year. That's how we sell our product, basically. Well,
from two blokes that are doing excellent things in regional Australia, we'll celebrate the women of regional Australia in a second. But Shepparton, give it up for these guys. They're employing, they're keeping the place well and truly on the front line of agriculture, both here and around the world. More from Move here in Shep next. Welcome back to Paul Murray Live here in Shepparton, where, of course, we are celebrating this incredible part of Australia. And yes, the produce is amazing. Can attest to it myself. All right, now, in a moment, we have a princess among us, ladies and gentlemen. A special princess is about to arrive in a Rolls Royce. Before we get there, 2 other wonderful examples of royalty here in regional Australia. They're 2 people who we'd love you to learn more about, but also, if you want to celebrate the women in regional Australia, nominate them for a Shine Award. As Australians, we love celebrating some incredible things about our wonderful history. Things that are nation building, the stuff of great patriotism and pride. Like in 1930, when Don Bradman became the only cricket player in history to score over 300 runs in just one day. The introduction of the polio vaccine in 1956. And in 1973, the opening of the Opera House. Of course, there are many more moments that make the grade, but there is one group who we don't celebrate enough. These Aussies are a demographic of heroes who deserve their moment in the sun too. Regional women. They've got dedication in droves, plenty of courage, grace and grit to boot. Without them, we cannot be the country we all know and love. The Shine Awards is a campaign by the Weekly Times, supported by Harvey Norman, and they look to celebrate these women every year. To make sure those rural ladies who have spoken out, refused to give up, and found success against the odds get the recognition they deserve.
The Shine Awards was created in 2017, and really it was born out of a conversation between Herald and Weekly Times chairman Penny Fowler and Harvey Norman CEO Katie Page. Both Penny and Katie knew lots of stories of rural women who were real powerhouses, but the essential and extraordinary work that they had been doing was often unsung, and they really wanted to shine a light on these amazing women and their stories.
One of these women is Marie Wilson, who grew up not too far from where we are tonight in Shepparton. Born and raised in the heart of Australia's food bowl, she wanted to make sure that no farmer went through their darkest hours alone.
Oh, in 2018, we ourselves experienced a devastating drought and we had to sell almost 200 of our Black Angus cattle and nearly 1,000 of our sheep, which was really hard to do. And then we were hit with a flood at the end of 2018 as well, which wiped out all our summer growth, and I just thought, I'm going to help other people so they don't feel as helpless as we do right now. Sorry.
I love when people get together to help people, particularly with stock and feed. Best example of it is a hay run. And Marie and her mates at Aussie Hay Runners get in their trucks, put their heart and their soul all into helping out people regardless of whether it's drought or flood or fire.
Aussie Hay Runners is a charity organisation and it's run by volunteers all over the place. We collect fodder donations to take to bushfire, drought, flood, natural disaster areas to help farmers out when things go wrong. Sometimes it's not even about the load of hay, it's about someone reaching out and saying, I see you.
So if you know someone like Marie, think about nominating them for the Shine Awards. Set aside a few minutes and put forward a rural woman in your life who you can't do without, who our country can't do without either. You won't regret it, and it could make a world of difference in their world because they make a difference in ours.
Do it, do it. Nominate that person because volunteers are such a huge part of every community, and your nomination is not only recognition for that amazing person, but it can also help the cause that they are volunteering for, which can lead to all sorts of possibilities.
They're amazing, aren't they? Well done to Penny and to Katie Page, of course, from Harvey Norman, who support those women each and every year with the Shine Awards. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding and a round of applause because royalty is amongst us. Ladies and gentlemen, Princess Olivia! She's waving to the crowd. She is arriving here at Move. Princess Olivia next on Paul Murray Live in Shepparton. Welcome back to Shepparton. Having a good time? I've enjoyed a bit of our town action. Thank you. Well, royalty is amongst us. Princess Olivia, you've just come out of a Rolls Royce. Very exciting. Lovely to see you. Thank you for being here. Now, firstly, this outfit is amazing. But the reason we wanted to get you on the telly tonight was you wrote a letter to late Queen Elizabeth,
Yes.
and she wrote back.
Yes.
So tell us, how old were you when you wrote it to her?
I was 8 years old when I got the letter from Queen Elizabeth.
So why did you want to write to the Queen? You could have written to Beyonce. You could have written to anyone. Why was it Her Majesty that you wanted to write to?
Well, you see, I did an online fancy dress competition and I didn't really win it, so I decided to write a letter to the Queen.
Well, then her writing back is better than winning, right?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so can you read the letter that you wrote to Her Majesty? This was 27th of June, 2022. Go for it.
Yes. Dear Queen Elizabeth, my name is Olivia Akers and I am 8 years old. And I live in Tallygarupina in Australia. I really like your video with Paddington Bear. Do you really eat marmalade sandwiches? I have included some photos from an online horse fancy dress competition that was for your Platinum Jubilee.
And that's some of the footage that we've just been showing on the telly. So you've got more in the letter?
I hope you like my photos. My side saddle came from England. My pony's name is Lady and she is an Australian pony. How many horses do you have? I hope you had a lovely Jubilee. Love, Olivia.
This is awesome. That's so cute. And so, Her Majesty, can we hold the letter up? Is that okay?
Yes, sure.
So she writes back to you. She writes back to you in August of 2022. So she says, among other things here, that the Queen wishes me to thank you. The Queen is interested to see your photos. And also somebody here has said that they were touched to know how much you enjoyed horse riding. So who made your costume?
Well, my mum helped me make costume and a family friend did, and I did some helping with the teamwork.
Very cool, very cool. Well, Royalty is about to draw a vanilla slice tray here because, of course, Shepparton has the best vanilla slice in the world. So it is your first royal duty as the princess here on Sky News. Grab in there, grab a ticket. Oh, she's being very serious about this. She's turning. Here we go. Oh, pick that one. That one. No, this one. Okay, no, you got it. All right, you got one. Drop them all except one. Okay, got it? All right. That's our winner. Oh, she's got it. The winner is, in the audience, A30. But ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Olivia. Thank you very much. Lovely to see you. A royal wave, if you will. And we'll see you for more Our Town later. But here's the Royal Report on Sky News.